What if a single wildflower, once trusted to break up hard soil, attract armies of beneficial insects, and quietly fertilize gardens for free, could slash the need for synthetic sprays by up to 70%? Yarrow was once the secret engine at the heart of thriving farms and gardens, until industrial shortcuts, profit motives, and changing aesthetics erased it almost overnight. The catch? Most gardeners today have no idea why this living fertilizer vanished, or what we are risking by leaving it out. So what did our ancestors know that modern agriculture forgot? And can yarrow's infinite cycle of renewal really change how we grow food forever? Beneath the surface, yarrow's secret work begins where most garden plants give up. Its roots are built for excavation, not just survival. A single taproot can plunge 2 to 3 feet into the earth, pushing through compacted layers that stop shallow-rooted crops cold. From this anchor, a network of fine, fibrous roots fans out, prying open tight soil and creating channels for air, water, and life to move freely. In poor or rocky ground, yarrow thrives where others struggle, sending its roots deep in search of hidden minerals. It is not just about breaking up hardpan. These roots act as living miners, drawing up potassium, phosphorus, copper, calcium, and magnesium from the subsoil. Over time, nutrients that would otherwise stay locked far below the reach of most vegetables are brought to the surface, woven into yarrow's leaves and stems. This is not theory. It is a pattern seen in old pastures, roadsides, and wild meadows where yarrow grows undisturbed. In places where the soil is thin or beaten down, yarrow's roots quietly undo years of compaction, leaving behind a looser, richer structure. Erosion slows, water seeps in deeper, and the ground becomes more forgiving for everything planted nearby. Even on slopes or in disturbed sites, the plant's dense roots help hold soil in place, preventing runoff and loss of precious topsoil. The real magic happens when the above-ground parts are cut back or naturally die off. Whether through intentional chop and drop, mowing, or seasonal dieback, yarrow returns the minerals it has mined to the top layer of soil. As the roots decay, they leave behind organic matter in tiny tunnels, pathways for earthworms, fungi, and beneficial bacteria. This constant cycle transforms stubborn ground into a living, breathing foundation for a healthy garden. Modern gardeners may overlook what is happening underground, but earlier generations understood that yarrow's roots do not just support the plant, they engineer the soil itself, setting the stage for a dynamic, self-renewing ecosystem. The next step in this cycle is how those mined nutrients, now at the surface, become available to everything growing nearby. As each season turns, yarrow's work above ground becomes just as important as what happens below. When stems and leaves are cut back, trampled, or simply die off with frost, all the minerals gathered from deep in the earth are left behind on the surface. Rain, dew, and soil microbes get to work breaking down this biomass, releasing nutrients right where shallow-rooted crops and wildflowers can use them. The result is a steady, natural return of potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, and copper to the topsoil, minerals that would otherwise stay locked far below reach. This cycle is not just about nutrition. As yarrow's foliage decomposes, it feeds earthworms and soil organisms, building a layer of rich humus that holds water and buffers plants against drought. In gardens where yarrow is allowed to run its course, the ground feels softer underfoot, and digging reveals soil that crumbles easily instead of clumping or compacting. Old gardening records and modern permaculture notes both point to this effect. Yarrow's seasonal dieback and regrowth create a mineral loop, turning what looks like plant litter into next year's fertility. Aeration improves as well. The voids left by decaying roots and the loose structure from accumulated organic matter make it easier for air and water to move through the soil. While exact numbers are hard to pin down, gardeners consistently report that beds with yarrow are less prone to waterlogging and recover faster from heavy rains. In dry spells, the deeper, more porous soil holds onto moisture, giving roots a better shot at survival. On slopes or in patches of hardpan, this process is especially valuable. Instead of losing topsoil to run off each spring, gardens anchored by yarrow keep their nutrients in place. Over time, the plant's annual growth and decay act as nature's slow-release fertilizer. closing the mineral loop without the need for synthetic inputs. This seasonal turnover, roots mining from below and shoots returning it above, creates a self-renewing foundation for resilient, healthy plant communities. Long before the age of synthetic fertilizers and designer lawns, yarrow was a constant in gardens and fields across Europe, Asia, and North America. Its feathery leaves and sturdy stems found a place not just in the wild, but woven into the routines of everyday people who relied on the land for food, medicine, and resilience. In the hands of traditional gardeners, yarrow became more than a wild flower. It was a trusted partner. Cuttings were tucked between rows of vegetables, scattered beneath fruit trees, or layered into compost heaps. Some used it as a living mulch, others as a green bandage for wounds, counting on its reputation for stopping bleeding and soothing skin. Its value was measured not in pounds or gallons, but in the quiet reliability of healthier crops and fewer pests, season after season. Stories of yarrow's healing touch run deep in folk medicine. In rural villages, a handful of its leaves pressed to a cut could stem the bleeding when no doctor was near. Herbalists praised its anti-inflammatory properties, and old field guides listed it for everything from fevers to digestive troubles. But its role in the garden was just as respected. Farmers noticed that plots where yarrow grew seemed to weather droughts better, and that neighboring plants stood taller, greener, and less troubled by disease. By the early 20th century, yarrow's reputation made its way into the radical new approach of biodynamic agriculture. In 1924, Rudolf Steiner, the founder of biodynamics, included yarrow as a key ingredient in his compost preparations. He called for yarrow flowers to be packed into stag bladders and buried over winter, a practice meant to harness the plant's unique ability to concentrate and circulate essential minerals, particularly those connected to phosphorus. Steiner's followers believed this would infuse compost with a kind of vitality that no chemical additive could match, helping soil and crops thrive in harmony with natural forces. What stands out is that yarrow's value was always collective, not the legacy of a single champion. Gardeners, farmers, and healers across generations trusted what they saw, a plant that brought balance, resilience, and abundance wherever it was allowed to grow. Its presence signaled a living partnership between people and the land, a quiet confidence that nature, when given a chance, could provide everything a healthy garden needs. The next step in understanding yarrow's legacy is to look closer at the science behind these age-old observations, and how modern research measures up to the wisdom of the past. Plant science has caught up to what gardeners once saw with their own eyes. Yarrow's benefits are not just folklore, they are now mapped out in laboratories and field surveys. Chemical analysis reveals a potent mix of compounds in its leaves and flowers: camphor, azulene, achillene, and a suite of bitter alkaloids. These are not just names on a chart. Camphor and azulene help repel soft-bodied pests, while achillene is linked to the plant's long-standing reputation for healing wounds and warding off disease. The feathery foliage releases these substances into the air and soil, creating a subtle chemical barrier that deters aphids, mealybugs, and even some fungal invaders. But yarrow's real strength lies in the way it transforms the garden into a living network of allies. Its umbrella-shaped flower heads are magnets for beneficial insects. Field observations and entomological records list more than 20 predator and pollinator species regularly visiting yarrow clusters. Hoverflies and lacewings, whose larvae feast on aphids, flock to the dense blooms alongside ladybugs, brackenid wasps, ground beetles, native bees, butterflies, and even some moths. These insects do not just pass through, they set up shop, laying eggs and hunting pests that would otherwise overrun crops. In gardens where yarrow is established, outbreaks of aphids and caterpillars rarely reach crisis levels. Instead, natural predators keep the balance, reducing the need for sprays or interventions. The soil beneath yarrow tells another part of the story. Researchers measuring microbial activity in garden plots find that areas with yarrow consistently show higher levels of beneficial bacteria and fungi. The plant's decaying leaves and roots provide a steady food source, accelerating decomposition and fueling the microbial engine that drives nutrient cycling. Compost piles with yarrow mixed in break down faster, heating up more quickly and finishing weeks ahead of those without. Some gardeners report that adding yarrow as a compost activator can cut their need for outside inputs by as much as 70%, no small feat in a world hooked on bags of fertilizer and bottles of bug killer. This is not just about saving money. It is about creating a system where the soil, plants, and insects work together, fueled by the chemistry and ecology of a single overlooked plant. Yarrow's laboratory profile matches its field performance. A free, self-propagating solution that delivers what synthetic products promise, without the hidden costs. After the Second World War, the rules of gardening and farming were rewritten almost overnight. Shelves once stocked with seeds and hand tools filled up with brightly colored bags and bottles, synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides promising instant results. The chemical industry, flush with wartime research and surplus, saw a new market in the backyard and the field. Advertisements in glossy magazines and radio spots painted a picture of effortless abundance. Just pour, spray, and watch your crops leap ahead. In this new era, speed and uniformity became the measure of progress. The slow, subtle work of plants like yarrow, mining minerals, attracting predators, and building soil could not compete with the promise of a quick fix. A different kind of beauty took hold as well. Lawn culture swept across suburbia, fueled by the dream of perfect, weed-free grass and neat flower beds. Anything that strayed from this vision, feathery leaves, wild clusters of blooms, untidy edges, was labeled a nuisance. Yarrow, with its stubborn persistence and tendency to pop up where it was not invited, found itself on the wrong side of the fence. Gardening guides and extension bulletins began listing it as a weed to be eradicated, not a partner to be encouraged. Profit played its part. There was little incentive to champion a plant that multiplied for free in the cracks of sidewalks and old pastures. Chemical solutions could be sold, branded, and replaced season after season. Yarrow, with its ancient reputation and self-renewing cycles, had no place in a system built on repeat sales and disposable products. The story of its decline is not just about changing tastes or new inventions. It is about what gets lost when convenience, profit, and image take priority over resilience and ecological sense. For all its benefits, yarrow has picked up a reputation that keeps many gardeners at arm's length. The most common myth is that it is too aggressive, likely to take over beds and crowd out prized plants. In reality, yarrow spreads at a steady pace, but it is far from unstoppable. Regular mowing or trimming keeps its growth in check, and a well-timed chop can even boost its usefulness as a mulch or compost starter. In gardens where order matters, yarrow can be kept tidy by simply cutting it back a few times a season, or by planting it at the margins where it serves as a resilient border. Another concern is its so-called weed status. The feathery leaves and persistent blooms might look unruly compared to manicured lawns, but this untamed appearance is the source of its strength. Yarrow's dense foliage smothers unwanted weeds, and its flowers support a living army of pollinators and pest eaters. What some see as mess is really a layer of ecological armor, protecting soil and supporting wildlife with minimal intervention. Questions about safety come up, especially when yarrow is used in gardens near children or pets. The plant is non-toxic for external use, and there are no documented risks when it is grown as a soil booster or insectary. One genuine caution does exist for those using yarrow in sites with a history of contamination, such as old industrial plots or areas near lead-painted structures. Because yarrow can draw up heavy metals like lead or copper, any plant material grown in polluted soil should be disposed of, not composted or used as mulch. In clean garden beds, though, yarrow is as safe as any perennial herb, and its benefits far outweigh the myths that have kept it out of favor. Regenerative gardeners today are bringing yarrow back, not as an experiment, but as a core part of their routine. The practical steps are simple and require little more than observation and a willingness to let nature do the heavy lifting. Yarrow thrives in clusters along garden edges or tucked under fruit trees, with 4 to 5 plants per square meter, providing enough coverage for most beds. Every 6 weeks through the growing season, the leafy stems are cut back, a schedule that lines up with peak nutrient cycling and insect activity. The clippings are left as mulch right where they fall, or gathered for the compost pile, where they act as an activator, speeding up decomposition. For a liquid feed, gardeners steep fresh yarrow leaves in water for a week or two, then dilute the resulting tea at a ratio of 1 part tea to 10 parts water. This homemade tonic is poured around the base of vegetables and fruiting plants, returning the minerals yarrow mined from deep in the soil. The process is straightforward, and the results are hard to ignore. In gardens where yarrow is used this way, aphid outbreaks are less common, with some growers reporting pest populations dropping by more than half over a single season. Fruit set in yield often improve as well, with anecdotal gains of up to 15% in beds, where yarrow is established and managed as a living mulch. For gardeners tired of chasing quick fixes, yarrow offers a different path, one that trades constant intervention for a steady, hands-off cycle of renewal. The plant's resilience and low-maintenance nature make it a favorite among those looking to cut back on store-bought solutions and let the garden's own biology take the lead. Right now, over half of modern gardens still rely on chemical inputs that degrade soil health and biodiversity. Yet plants like yarrow quietly offer a living alternative, free and regenerative, proven to support pollinators and soil microbes. The choice remains: cultivate resilience beneath our feet, or continue cycles of dependence. Sometimes the simplest solution is the one we've been pulling out as a weed. What will you let grow?